Welcome in, everyone, to the Auburn postgame show brought to you by Andrews Sports Medicine. We appreciate them sponsoring our content here as we head into the postseason of the basketball season. And the SEC tournament coming to a little bit of an early end for the Auburn Tigers. I think, unfortunately, nobody really expected, or at least maybe some Auburn fans out there were unexpected of the outcome of today's game against Texas A&M. Auburn, the 1 seed, Texas A&M, the 8 seed. Nubias Wilburn here to chat with me, to share his thoughts on how everything sort of went down today. And, Nubias, obviously we talked earlier today before the game and just talking about this Auburn basketball team and just the way they've performed and the way that they've been able to just maintain a level of consistency throughout the season. But then, they obviously come up against this Texas A&M team. And we know there's not a ton of disparity here in the SEC, bottom line. So, on any given day, the expectation anybody can win. And Texas A&M honestly just came a majority of this basketball game. And I just want to get your overall thoughts. Like, what did you see and sort of maybe what frustrated you most about how this game ended with Auburn falling 67-62?
Well, I won't say it frustrated me. I technically have no invested interest in it.
Correct.
I'm just saying.
If
I were an Auburn fan, what would frustrate me would be, one, KD Johnson shooting 0 for 14. I mean, it's just not often a player shoots that poorly for an entire game. I mean, and that really had an impact. Zep Jasper had a couple turnovers, and typically he doesn't turn the ball over. Excuse me, he had one turnover, was a big one. He rarely turns the ball over. I think he had gone like 5 games out of turnover. He has less than 20 turnovers on the season. Walker Kessler was hot, but you kind of didn't feed him. He got in some foul trouble early. That was an issue. Then overall, I mean, okay, 3-pointers. Jabari was 3 for 10, and Wendell Green Jr. was 5 of 9. Mm-hmm. Okay, they shot 9 for 36. As a team, okay?
Yeah.
So 2 guys made 8 of your 3-pointers. Jabari probably took a few too many. Green had an incredible afternoon when it came to hitting shots. And the other players on the team shot 1 for 25 from 3, okay? So we can go on down the line of things. And they didn't shoot free throws well. I mean, there were several different things that just went poorly for the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah. And I think, first of all, the statistics, even just thinking about the first half, right? You look at where Auburn kind of started this one and you just saw Texas A&M capitalizing time and time again. And Auburn, it was just like no matter where they took shots from, the shots just were not falling for Auburn whatsoever. The first half statistic glaring when you look at the first half: 6 for 37 from the field, 3 for 20 from 3-point range. I mean, to me, that obviously really kind of stands out. And 7 minutes and 34 seconds without putting any points on the board for Auburn, and that just to me very uncharacteristic. But
I disagree. They've had those lows quite often in games. In the Tennessee game, they had a stretch where they went over 10 minutes without scoring a bucket. They 8 minutes without scoring. Against South Carolina, they had a couple stretches about 5 minutes or so without scoring. Now, typically what has happened for Auburn is that their defense has been able to compensate.
Right.
But honestly, you look at that first half, you only scored 21 points, and you're still in that ball game, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what they shot in that first half, it was dreadful. I mean, nothing was going in. Nothing was working. You remember I had one sequence where Flanagan missed 2 free throws. Kessler missed some. I mean, there was just a lot of things that just did not go right from the get-go for Auburn. I mean, and again, reoccurring theme has been historically this season, the 3 or 4 times that Auburn has lost. You look at the game in Arkansas, okay? Had a long scoring lull. The game in Tennessee, long scoring lull. The UConn game in the Bahamas, they had 2 long scoring lulls in that game, still managed to get it to overtime. And then against Florida down there in Gainesville, they had long scoring lulls. So,
and Bias, here's the thing. You said all 4 of those, and we talk about uncharacteristic, but it's uncharacteristic until you put the @ symbol in front of that. and they're on the road. And so that to me has been the one thing that stood out, right? You just said it. Every game that they've had these issues for the most part have been on the road. And that probably is one of the bigger concerns, especially as we transition into the postseason, the big dance. Can Auburn kind of get their heads back in the game and perform well on the road? Because that's obviously where they're headed the rest of the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, the neutral site games are a thing, but here's the thing. Auburn had a very large contingent of people in that place ready to rock. Large group of people. So they had the support, but man, the shots just weren't falling. Now, sometimes, playing in an unfamiliar gym can have an impact with depth perception, things of that nature. They did play in that gym earlier this year against USF, which oddly enough was a game where they had their biggest deficit where they came back from and won against them. So, and they played the game down there to get used to playing in the gym, and then it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah. And kind of looking at the comments here, I realize, some folks here are disappointed, rightfully so. Ron Harris says exit from the big stage. Will Harris, I don't know if they're related, but he's kind of got a different perspective. It means get your head in the game, get some rest, get square before the big dance. I love what Stacy Smallwood Bray said. She said, every team has a bad day. So proud of this team, a group of guys, no matter what's ahead. War Eagle. They certainly, did not have a day that went in their favor. And then Cecil Glenn here says, someone tell me why the team's offense had slid in the last weeks of the season. And I think that's a good question. And that leads me, Nubias, into the conversation, right? So as we tee it up for the big dance, as we get ready for what is next for the Auburn Tigers, what is your take on things? I think a lot of people want to know what seed they're going to get when the selection numbers come out, and selection show is this Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Time. Where does Auburn land in terms of seeding, and how do you see that playing out?
I would have said before, if they would beat Texas A&M, they might have stepped on that 1 seed line, particularly with Baylor losing.
So you're saying beat Texas A&M, but they could have lost the rest of the way and still got the 1 seed.
Potentially, yes, depending on who they play, how it goes. I mean, to be honest, the conference tournament doesn't mean what it used to like 30, 40 years. Not to say it's not important, but it's not as meaningful as it used to be with how the seeding has changed over the years. And sometimes it could be in your favor to not play so many games, get back home and rest. However, losing like that with the shots not falling, I'm fortunate enough to where I get to watch Auburn practice fairly regularly. Bruce Pro does a really good job of letting us go see it. And yeah, I've never seen KD Johnson miss 14 shots, you know what I'm saying, in that kind of way. I mean, you look at what they did for three. They're normally about a 30% shooting team, and they were way worse than that today. I mean, they just didn't shoot well, and they had open looks. So I can't really be too hard on them because they didn't fall. The shots didn't fall. It would be different. There's a site, Shot Tracker, that showed that basically of the quality shots, Auburn would have won this game 77 times out of 100 if we were playing. Now, of course, I know, almost didn't count. I get all that. However, when you're getting quality shots and they don't fall, you can live with that. And give Auburn's defense credit. They still were in there. Now, I will say there was a couple times Kessler got in early foul trouble. That had an impact. Even when he did play, he wasn't as aggressive on defense. But then give Auburn credit on this. Coming to about like 6-7 minutes left, they only had 4 fouls, which has been rare for Auburn because Auburn sometimes has fouled or been called for fouls a lot, we'll say. Okay?
Yeah.
And they played really well without fouling to still give them a chance to be in the game. I also look at the resolve, the shots by Wendell Green Jr. I think they'll probably be a 2 seed. They'll probably start off as my man Paul Stevens says, probably in Greenville, South Carolina, which I think will be a good look for Auburn. There's a good fan base of Auburn fans in that area. And, of course, obviously, very easy driving distance, particularly, Auburn has a lot of fans in Atlanta. As y'all know, 2-hour drive up 85 to Atlanta. And, by the way, shout out to Laura Goodman. She's from there. So, it'll be a good time. There you go. I just wouldn't want fans to panic too much about this.
Yeah. Hey, new bias, that's good. And I think that's what fans need to hear right now. This was a very frustrating loss. It was a frustrating game to watch, sitting at home, especially if you are an Auburn fan. And, you could just see it on the player's face. You could see it on Bruce Pearl's face. Just things were not falling in their favor. And so, again, I think having that optimism to say, okay, hit the reset button. Let's see what it looks like. And, I know the statistics are pretty daunting in terms of, a team coming out of the quarterfinals of their tournament have yet to, win a national championship kind of thing. I don't know if it's ever been done or it was a very long time ago, statistically speaking, but
yeah, it's 1985, apparently.
85. Okay. I'm glad. Yeah. So with that being said, though, if Auburn can kind of get things squared away, put together their best performance, get the shots to fall, and, go back in this NCAA tournament and kind of get back to where we saw this Auburn basketball team, midway through the season, just grinding it out. I think that we'll be in a maybe having a much different conversation, at this time, a week from now, and whatever that looks like. So I think it's all good insight. And again, selection show Sunday, 5:00 Central. So we'll be breaking that down when all is said and done, to kind of get everybody up to speed as to where Auburn's heading and what we expect from that. So Nubias, thank you, my friend, for joining us. Thank you for everyone out there that watched. Thank you for all your comments. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate the love. We appreciate you venting, whatever it takes to just get it all out there, my friends. And we also appreciate our sponsors, Andrews Sports Medicine. Y'all take care. Y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you back here on Sunday.